Let's now begin with our top story. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's illegal annexation of the occupied valley is a fatal mistake that will backfire. Addressing the Azad Kashmir Assembly on Kashmir Solidarity Day, Khan said Modi's steps have turned world opinion more strongly in favor of oppressed Kashmiris. Khan said Modi took this step while following the ideology of RSS, which is inspired by Nazism and Hitler. He said after the 5th of August, Pakistan told the world about the ideology of RSS and its actions in Kashmir. Khan said he highlighted the issue on every international forum as an ambassador of Kashmir. The Prime Minister said this Hindutva ideology has jeopardized the existence of every religious minority in India. Now, protests and rallies are being held across the world against Indian atrocities as Pakistan observes Kashmir Solidarity Day. The occupied valley is reeling under New Delhi's lockdown for the past 185 days after its illegal annexation.
Protesters, including women and children, gathered outside the UN office in Islamabad to highlight the plight of Kashmiris. They handed over a resolution to the UN's resident coordinator demanding prompt and decisive action to end Indian annexation and lockdown. Human chains are also being formed at Kohala, Mangla, Holar and Azad Patan points linking Pakistan and Azad Kashmir. Civil society and activists are holding demonstrations in Bangladesh and Brussels against Indian occupation and illegal annexation of the occupied Kashmir. Pakistan's High Commission in France has inaugurated an exhibition of artworks in solidarity with Kashmir. Pro-freedom politicians of Indian-occupied Kashmir have thanked Pakistan for supporting and highlighting the issue globally.
Well, to discuss this further, we're now joined by our correspondent from Islamabad, Sumaira Khan. Sumaira, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us, Sumaira, about the human chain that has been formed? Sumaira, can you hear me? All right, it seems that we may have lost our connection there with Sumaira Khan. We'll try to come back to her if we can later on in this news bulletin. Let's move on for the moment. Indian forces have martyred 2 more civilians near occupied Kashmir's capital, Srinagar. That incident occurred on the day when Pakistan and Kashmiris around the world are observing Kashmir Solidarity Day. Occupation forces targeted the youth during a cordon and search operation in Shaltang. Indian troops have martyred 23 Kashmiri civilians over the past 30 days. The valley is reeling under a crushing curfew communications blackout by India, which has created a humanitarian crisis. Now, in India itself, artists, including singers and comedians, have joined the ongoing Anti-Citizenship Act protests in the capital, New Delhi. Meanwhile, the all-women sit-in has continued at Delhi's Shaheen Bagh since December 16th, despite armed attacks on the demonstration. The artists started joining the sit-in after right-wing Hindu parties threatened to attack the protest this week. To counter the fear, rappers, classical and Sufi singers have performed at the sit-in over the last few days. Similar sit-ins, meanwhile, continue in Mumbai and Kolkata, where protesters refuse to leave until the law is withdrawn. India has seen countrywide demonstrations against the controversial act in which 27 people have been killed over the last 2 months. Let's get to some other news. Now, the Taliban have accused the U.S. of obstructing Afghanistan peace negotiations by making numerous changes in demands. A fresh round of talks between the group and envoy Zalmi Khalilzad-led U.S. delegation is underway in Doha. In a statement, spokesperson Zabihullah said the Taliban have the intention and capacity for a resolution. He said U.S. President Donald Trump's tweets are hindering the progress. The spokesperson said differences between Kabul and Washington are the other major reasons for the talks' failure. He said, unlike Washington, the Taliban's position and stance is principled and concerted. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump has pledged to end the war in Afghanistan and bring all American troops back home. Speaking at the State of the Union address, Trump said America's enemies are on the run, fortunes are on the rise, and the future is blazing bright.
During his 90-minute-long speech, Trump reunited U.S. Army officer Sergeant Townsend Williams, deployed in Afghanistan, with his family.
It is also not our function to serve other nations as law enforcement agencies. These are warfighters that we have, the best in the world, and they either want to fight to win or not fight at all. We are working to finally end America's longest war and bring our troops back home.
Trump also reiterated his call to Iran to abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons and accused Tehran of spreading terror. Trump's address became a shocking display of U.S. divisions as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripped up her copy of the speech on live television. Meanwhile, reacting to Trump's speech, Democratic Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, attacked the Republican Party on health care. In her speech, Gretchen said Democrats are trying to make U.S. health care better, while Republicans are trying to take it away from every American.
Now, Pete Buttigieg has taken a marginal lead in the first batch of results from the Iowa Democratic Party caucus. The party released the partial result after a delay of 21 hours. The results showed Buttigieg has won 26.8% of the state delegate equivalents, while Bernie Sanders is second on 25.2%. Elizabeth Warren is third on 18.4% and Joe Biden fourth on 15.4%. The data from 71% of precincts showed the centrist Amy Klobuchar is fifth on 12.6%. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump won a landslide victory in the Republican Party's Iowa primary. Elsewhere, Israeli aircraft have bombed a number of locations in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army claims it hit targets belonging to Hamas's military wing in retaliation to rockets fired from the area. No casualties have been reported by the Palestinian Ministry of Health. This is the fifth time in a week that Israeli warplanes have targeted the Gaza Strip. Tensions between Israel and Palestine have been rising since U.S. President Donald Trump presented his Middle East peace plan. Well, the UN says it is committed to a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In a meeting in New York, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the organization aims to resolve the conflict on the basis of pre-1967 borders. Guterres said the body supports resolutions, international law, and bilateral agreements made throughout the years to end the conflict. He said resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains the key to sustainable peace in the Middle East. Meanwhile, a draft Security Council resolution has condemned an Israeli plan to annex its West Bank settlements. The draft text circulated by Tunisia and Indonesia offered some members dim view of U.S. President Donald Trump's peace plan. Diplomats said negotiations on the text will likely begin later this week. In news coming out of Sudan, the head of that country's sovereign council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, says his meeting with Israel's prime minister has no bearing on Khartoum's stance on Palestine. Playing down his meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu in Uganda, al-Burhan said the only thing on the agenda was national security. In a statement, al-Burhan said Khartoum's position on Palestinians' right to set up an independent state will remain firm. Monday's surprise meeting stirred controversy in Sudan, with the government saying it was not notified ahead of time. Palestinian factions responded to the news with anger, with President Mahmoud Abbas accusing Khartoum of stabbing Palestinians in the back. Welcome back, viewers. Now, as we've been telling you, Pakistan, as well as the rest of the world, are commemorating Kashmir Solidarity Day. To discuss that further, we're now joined by our correspondent from Islamabad, Sumaira Khan. Sumaira, tell us about the human chain that has been formed. Sumaira, if you can hear me, please tell us more about the human chain that has been formed.
Yes, Vakar. I'm right now standing at National Press Club Islamabad, where an event is being organized by the Ministry of Information and some other in collaboration with. And we are expecting the advisor to the Prime Minister on Information, Dr. Firdaus Ashik Awan. She'll be arriving in a moment. But as you can see that a large gathering of not just the people from Kashmiri community, but also there's a good number of civil society members, journalists, and all the Hurriyat APHC leaders as well. They're right now here, and there are numerous platforms right now in the background, if you can see that, and from every platform there is a speech in the favor of Kashmiri people in the Indian occupied Kashmir, and against the lockdown, illegal lockdown imposed by India on the entire valley. And from all the speeches as of now, we could gather that there are appeals as well to the Pakistani government to in solidarity with Kashmiri people. There is an appeal being made by the Kashmiri community that within Pakistan, all the political parties should rise above the differences, and they should make a collective effort to force India to uplift this illegal lockdown on the valley, and they should work towards the cause of Kashmir. Apart from this, till the time the advisor to the Prime Minister, Dr. Firdaus Ashik Awan, arrives here and the human chain is formally made. Before that, we can see groups of children, a large gathering of children and women. They are coming in and they are joining this movement right now. And it's not just a human chain. We have to cover. We have just been informed by the organizers that they will walk towards the China Square in Islamabad, and it will be gradually. It will be one of the largest event being held at Islamabad right now. Besides this event, we have also the news that another big gathering which was being scheduled at Para, Islamabad. They are also coming and joining the event right now at Islamabad National Press Club.
Very well, Samira. We'll leave it there at that. But of course, we appreciate your reporting. Samira Khan, our correspondent, speaking to us there from the Pakistani capital. Let's move on with the news now. After trading barbs over the past couple of days, Russia and Turkey have agreed to take immediate actions to improve coordination in Syria. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed the recent developments over the phone. On Monday, over 50 soldiers were killed in clashes between Turkish forces and the Moscow-backed Syrian army. The Kremlin said Putin and Erdogan highlighted the need to follow mutual agreements on Syria's Idlib province. It said both presidents reiterated support to the intra-Syrian dialogue in the framework of the Syrian Constitutional Committee in Geneva. Meanwhile, Erdogan warned Syrian forces to withdraw from Turkish posts by the end of this month, or Ankara will act. 490 people have died from the new coronavirus in China, while more than 24,000 are infected. The number of daily deaths reached another record high in the country, with 65 fatalities in Hubei province. After the lockdown in Hunan and Hubei provinces, officials in Zhejiang province have limited the number of people allowed to leave their homes. The virus continues to spread, with Singapore, Malaysia and Thailand reporting new infections in people that have never been to China. Meanwhile, 10 people on a cruise ship quarantined off the coast of Japan yesterday tested positive for the disease. However, the World Health Organization continues to insist that the outbreak is not a pandemic.
Currently, we are not in a pandemic. We are at the phase where it's an epidemic with multiple foci, and we will try to extinguish the transmission in each of these foci.
Now, China's National Health Commission says almost 900 people earlier diagnosed with the new coronavirus have recovered after treatment. Well, after Taiwan, Vietnam and Saudi Arabia have reported a bird flu outbreak. This comes as the world struggles to contain the spread of that deadly China coronavirus. The virus has killed 2,200 birds in Vietnam, while it has killed over 22,000 birds in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Agriculture Ministry said over 385,000 birds were also slaughtered as a precaution. This is the first such outbreak in the kingdom since July 2018. The H5N8 strain of the bird flu detected in Saudi Arabia has been declared increasingly infectious. Earlier, Taiwan reported 56 deaths due to the H1N1 swine flu virus over the past 3 months. Myanmar has reimposed an internet ban in the two conflict-torn western states of Rakhine and Chine. This comes after the International Court of Justice ordered Naypyidaw to stop the persecution and prevent genocide of Rohingya Muslims. A Norwegian mobile group said the government ordered internet traffic to be stopped for 3 months in both states. The company said the ban was partially lifted 5 months ago. European diplomats are urging Myanmar to start prosecuting people responsible for atrocities against the Rohingya. After a UN Security Council meeting, Estonia's ambassador, Sven Jurgensen, asked Myanmar to carry out last month's ICJ verdict. Poland has extended its support to North Macedonia in its ambition to join the EU and NATO. The Polish President, Andrzej Duda, said North Macedonia is expected to join NATO in the following weeks. Duda said he had given North Macedonia's President, Stevo Pendarovsk, Poland's support. He said the inclusion of the country in the EU is important after Brexit. Spain is the last NATO member that needs to ratify North Macedonia's entry to the military alliance. On to Turkey now, where 5 people have been killed and 2 others are feared trapped under snow after an avalanche in the eastern province of Van. Governor Mehmet Emin Bilmez said 7 people were rescued during the search. The victims were riding in a minibus on the Van Başarısay highway in the district of Başarısay when the avalanche hit them. Surrounded by colossal mountains, Başarısay frequently experiences harsh winter conditions. Now, Mexico City has banned the use of plastic bags. The decision aims to reduce the daily generation of solid waste. That step has received a positive response from Mexican citizens.
Mexico City is the world's top garbage generating capital, producing 13,000 tons of solid waste daily. 15% of this garbage is comprised of single-use plastic. As a first step, local authorities have banned the use of plastic bags.
I prefer to take my trolley or my bag, another cloth or coarse cloth bag, and I avoid being given any plastic bags as much as I can.
People have accepted the ban, preferring to bring their own reusable bags with them when they shop.
This is the Mexican basket that represents the use of fibers and is part of our heritage. It is carried this way and it allows you to counterbalance the weight. They are resistant and durable.
State officials say everyone must fight the country's harmful addiction to plastic.
We also need to re-educate ourselves. And the way to re-educate ourselves is to look back to the origin. And this beginning is full of richness and proposals made by the original peoples.
Authorities and citizens agree that the single-use plastic has caused great damage to Mexico's environment. Whether they'll be able to kick the plastic habit once and for all remains to be seen.
Google says due to a software glitch in its photo app, some users' private videos were incorrectly exported to strangers. The tech giant apologized and said the underlying issue has been resolved. Google said it conducted an in-depth analysis to help prevent this from happening again. It said that less than 0.01% of those who used the takeout tool may have encountered the bug. The company said the glitch affected users who exported Google photo content in November last year. Chinese telecom giant Huawei has promised to set up 5G manufacturing hubs in Europe as it tries to fight off U.S. pressure on the EU. Huawei said the telecom company is more committed to Europe than ever before. Huawei's top executive in Europe, Abraham Liu, said politically motivated suspicion does not address the challenges ahead. Liu urged Europe, the U.S. and China to invest more in political discussion to talk about collaboration and common rules. This comes days after the EU said member states could ban telecom operators deemed a security risk from critical 5G infrastructure. In Italy, an exhibition of ancient footwear is celebrating Roman-era art of the shoe alongside contemporary fashion. The show in the Italian city of Florence promises to satisfy the curiosity of anyone interested in shoes, ancient and modern.
Massive feat in marble and bronze and the remnants of destroyed statues of gods and kings have been brought together at Florence's Palazzo Pitti. Each foot is carefully enmeshed in crepite sandals fastened with an intricate web of laces covering the foot. Exhibition carries 80 pieces of sculptures, urns and sandals, some on loan from international museums.
Here you can see the shoes that were worn by Liz Taylor in Cleopatra or Russell Crowe in Gladiator. All of them were made by the shoemaker Pompey in Rome, who is the world leader in the manufacturing of this type of shoe.
In ancient past, shoes told everything that could be known about the wearer.
In the ancient world, footwear was an instrument for passing from one phase of life to another, from a young woman to a married woman. It was also an instrument of work.
The show will run until April 19th.
Now, OPEC is consulting with China for an urgent assessment of the effect of coronavirus on oil demand. The rescue was made after Wang Kun, China's ambassador to international organizations in Vienna, visited the cartel's headquarters. Wang said the virus will inevitably affect oil demand, but cautioned against overreacting. Delegates from OPEC Plus Alliance are in Vienna for a technical meeting to discuss action following the outbreak. They are debating more aggressive oil output cuts than previously considered after reviewing new data. Crude prices fell below $50 a barrel in New York on Monday for the first time in more than a year. Stock markets across Europe are trading higher as investors recover from the ripples caused by the coronavirus scare. Investors are buying back equity stocks after shedding safe haven stocks. Frankfurt's DAX is trading over 0.5% higher as Infineon stocks climbed over 4%. The CAC 40 in Paris has gained nearly 0.5%. London's FTSE 100 is trading fractionally higher, shedding early gains after Imperial brand stock tumbled nearly 9%. In Asia, the Shanghai Composite led the gains, closing over 1% higher after China's central bank lowered interest rates to ease the money supply. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 also closed over 1% higher. Meanwhile, international crude oil prices gained nearly 2%, bouncing back from a 13-month. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And with that, you're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin here at Indus News.